Alright, what's poppin', people? We're back. And in my ever continuing search to find good tournament games to look over, I found this one that's at least fun, right? So this is between Danny on the left here, and on the right we got ZS, aka Wireless Specs, aka not actually named Wireless Specs, but jokes about it anyway. And Danny's team is filled with really fun sets that honestly make this game really cool. And I think he makes... There's a couple turns where he's making some very powerful reads that, you know what? I felt that made this game worth showcasing. So as per usual, leave a like if you're enjoying this content. Subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. If everyone that watched this video that isn't subscribed after it, I don't know how many subscribers I'd get, but we'd be closer to my end of the year goal of 5,000. So just do it. Anyway, let's get into it. Of course, if you're looking at these teams, it's kind of hard to tell on Danny's side what the sets are, right? Because you've got Duraludon Sandaconda. Duraludon I feel like Duraludon's more frequently used as a non-stealth rocker, but it definitely could be run with that. And then you got an Archeops, which is just super uncommon, so there's really not a whole lot that you can glean from that at preview. And I think ZS's team is pretty easy to look at. You've got Rox Aerodactyl here, and then just a whole bunch of other standard good mons. Probably a Rest Escavalier, because, hey, especially when a Wish, you want that mon to be sticking around. Scarf on Rotom Mow, Swords Dance Drapion, just some standard. So, let's get into it. We're going to lead off with a Rotom Mow into Archeops, and there's probably going to be Scarf. And Danny just decides immediately, yeah, we're going to stay at a U-turn on the potential Scarf Rotom Mow, so that's lovely. He's getting you into the Duraludon. Obviously, if you're worried about a standard wall-breaking Duraludon there, maybe it's Specs. At best, you're looking at E-Belt. And of course, since it's Quagsire, you're unaware is going to ignore its stat drops. You know, it's not just boosts, it's stat changes on the whole, so he could actually spam Draco as long as he'd want. So this gives Danny a very free turn to actually get rocks up, and that's interesting because it tells you Sandaconda is going to have a different set. And spoiler alert, Sandaconda never comes out in this game. From what Danny told me, because he was saying after I said I was going to upload the game between Kashalis and Confide, he was like, damn, I wish I got my Sandaconda out more in this game, because apparently it's choice banned. Anyhow, rocks are up, and we're actually going to see Metal Sound Duraludon is a pretty interesting way to try to help it get, you know, more damage onto something like an Escavalier. And we're going to see Draco. Unfortunately, it doesn't do enough. 65 is really good damage, but not enough. The next Draco's still going to do a lot, but Escavalier, we're just going to see it rest it all off. And at the very least, you still forced it to be asleep, which is still good. And Plume comes out. Very easy switch in here. We're going to see a Leech Seed. And what the immediate Leech Seed tells me is he's probably just not Infestation. You know, we saw Infestation Leech Seed Vileplume a lot in previous metagames as a way to trap Escavalier and a couple other Pokemon, but Escavalier was like the main one. And what it lets you do is, of course, you infest it and you Leech Seed it, and that's like 25% extra damage on it every turn. And these Escavaliers back then didn't really run Rest. A lot of time Escavalier was running Protect plus Toxic. Shout out to some of the lives I've done with Pokegame in the past where that was all we'd ever run into. But of course, that set does not ever beat Vileplume. It just slowly gets stalled out, even if the Plume's only attack that can actually do damage is, you know, Infestation, and of course Leech Seed should too. But with Escavalier running Rest so frequently now, even Swords Dance seeing a lot more use, such a set isn't too common. And while I think Vileplume's last slot is generally pretty flexible, I think seeing Leech Seed should still send off some sirens about, hey, this probably actually just isn't Infestation anyway. So my guess was Giga Drain last. We'll of course see how it goes throughout the game. And Danny is going to throw off a Sludge Bomb there. The Escavalier's always going to wake up on that turn. Plume, honestly, I am a little surprised it didn't Strength Sap, but I think it makes sense to still Sludge Bomb there. The Escavalier isn't going to KO you there, and Leech Seed should still keep you at a decent amount of health, and getting off a lot of damage on this Xatu is still cool. Now Snorlax's going to come out. Unfortunately, it's not another Encore Whirlpool set. This is just standard Curse Lax. And he's going to curse up a couple times, because there's nothing really that ZS's team threatens. Of course, Quagsire always comes out with impunity, because what's a curse lacks to a Quagsire? And he's going to get at least a little bit of chip here. You probably imagine to see a sort of recover here, or an Earthquake. Because again, you get to ignore Snorlax's boosts, so there's not really a whole lot that it can do back. And we see the recover now, as Danny just opts to rest up. That's fine, that's fine. The Rotomo's going to come out here as Vileplume comes back out. This is generally a pretty free strength sap, I would imagine. As the Escavalier will come back out, as he actually does Sludge Bomb. Try to catch that Xatu. Poison damage plus Sludge Bomb might have actually killed it after rocks, so I think that's a good play. And now we're just going to see more Vileplume stall. This Mon really is hard for ZS to take out, because even like Swords Dance Drapion isn't really wanting to try to contend with you, you know, especially if it's like directly switching into you on a Leech Seed or even a Sludge Bomb, but particularly a Leech Seed, because from there it's like you gotta boost up quite a few turns before you can actually start threatening Vileplume in any meaningful way. And now the Duraludon, my bad, it's gonna come out. Of course, there's nothing really to fear. This is just a very free attack you can throw off. Get a little bit of recovery from Leech as well, so that's really good. And Quagsire here is actually gonna end up revealing its full set, wanting to waste a Draco. And this is actually a set ZS really likes a lot. Of course, the problem now for ZS is Danny knows Xatu walls. You know, there's nothing at all that this Quagsire can do. And Danny's actually also going to get a really good amount of damage here with the Draco. So now Archeops can come out. From how Danny ends up playing at this game, I kind of think it ends up being Choice Banded. Maybe. It could also bit something else entirely. I don't know my Archeops calcs, sadly. But here we're going to see this sequence. Now this is the favorable start for ZS. But Vileplume is very, very, very bulky. And so Drapion's not actually going to be able to take it out from full. It needs to be at +6 to ever Oko, and of course, you can't ever get to +6 if Strength Sap is spammed. Now Xatu is going to come out here. This is still fine for Danny to go to his own Xatu if he'd like, which he's going to do. And now ZS going to get the Archeops out. You're about to see some very power predicts here. Now, I was a little bit surprised when I saw this take rocks, right? Looking at ZS's team, you would assume Stealth Rock, Aerodactyl, which always runs boots. So not seeing this Mon just avoid rock damage all together confused me a bit. And we're going to see Danny predict immaculately Stealth Rock and just Psychic. Very good read. And he's going to do it twice in a row. Which, yeah, that's a power predict, man. Ends up paying really big dividends here. And we're going to see a power predict again. Knowing the Volt Switch is super obvious, so he probably will go for like a trick to try to cripple the Plume. Because, again, let's be fair here. This Vileplume will 6-0 ZS's team from this game state pretty easily. You know, he just doesn't have a way to break Plume ever. So his only real hope is to try to get a trick off on it and neutralize it that way. Danny doesn't allow that. And his mom probably would have lived anyway, a Volt from full. So he's actually going to get so much extra mileage out of the Xatu. He's going to KO the Aerodactyl, deny rocks. He's going to get to KO the Drapion. It's going to force a whole bunch of chip onto the Rotomo. And honestly, getting Scarf at this point is fine. I mean, you don't need Xatu to do a whole lot. You know, the most you're using it for anyhow at this point is to just sit in front of Quagsire. And from here, you're just going to look at an angle where Vileplume wins. You know, he's going to reveal to be Giga Drain soon. And I mean, what's ZS's team got at that point? You know, you got to try to... I feel like at a point, you have to try to sack your own Xatu for chip on Vileplume and hope for, like, a crit or something like that. We, of course, can see Archeops come out now. Quagsire did a point get back high, so if you are CB Archeops, you don't get to just try to spam Stone Edge, just quite. But that's not really too big a deal with how big of an advantage as Vileplume got Danny. And here's where I revealed the Giga Drain, of course. If it was Infestation, he would have used it earlier, right? And I'm trying to think of, like, any sort of angle that ZS could have won it from at this point, right? Where he already tricked away your Scarf so you could never cripple this. It would have been a matter of trying to somehow stall with a Scavalier. And that would have been pretty hard, because this never got a leftovers, right? So I think what would have ended up happening is at a point, Danny just tries to leverage his Sandaconda, which, you know, like we know, it was Choice Band. So he just tried to get it in at a point, get the Sandaconda in, and then you've got a good turn to just start firing off Earthquakes, right? Since Rotom Mow has already tricked away a Scarf, you don't have to worry about that Mon at all. It didn't get leftovers back either, so you only have to force it in one more turn to guarantee that it'll succumb to Stealth Rock next. So you're looking at a good angle there. I guess he could go to Rotom Mow and like Fog Rocks away, but maybe that would be the line. I think Sandaconda comes out, you just try to hope this Mon you predict it on the switch, because then you definitely can secure a KO, or secure a win. If he goes Quag as like a mid-ground, I guess you still are content with EQ damage, and then you just double into your Xatu the next turn, since Quag isn't doing anything to you with the set. And yeah, I thought this was a pretty cool battle. I think Danny played it really well, and fully took advantage of Vileplume. Like I said, man, I don't know how ZS ever breaks Plume. I think a lot of it is try to block Strength Sap with Xatu, because, I mean, yeah, your Xatu can, it doesn't shut down Plume, but it can deny Strength Sap and Leech Seed recovery entirely. Force it to try to get Giga Drain chip on a Scavalier, that's not a big deal. But Danny was able to, on the only real turn that it mattered, deny the Xatu, force a poison really early onto it, and that just means that this spawn can't play as actively as it would like to. That's going to be it from me. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Of course, as always, if you did, leave a like. Turn on that bell for notifications too. I know you're out there, people that haven't clicked it. I'm watching you. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.